Addiction devastates families like no other illness or disease does.
It'll lead you nowhere besides jail or dead.
I don't even recognize the person who I was.
I mean, life became rock bottom.
Addiction is no respecter of age, any demographic.
You were willing to go to any lengths to get the drugs or alcohol. What about to save your life?
I'm Cindy Hsu, and today we are breaking the stigma and facing addiction. It's been reported that nearly 50 million people over the age of 12 have substance use disorders, which can include addictions to alcohol or drugs. Other issues that affect millions, such as gambling, shopping, gaming, and porn, have also been classified as addictions and mental health disorders. All of these can be devastating and sometimes life-threatening. Over this next half hour, you'll hear from professionals with programs, advice, and hope for a way through these complex problems. And you'll also hear some very personal stories from people who continue to face their own issues head on.
I don't know how many are here. A lot.
I was a little apprehensive to talk about this, because I've never really spoken about it publicly.
It was a brave, bold move for this man to invite us in. He asked that we not use his name. This is what a shopping addiction or compulsive buying disorder looks like.
When you have 500 pairs of sneakers, 1,000 pair of loafers, bins of clothing that you don't even know what's inside them.
Experts say about 5% of the population has a compulsive shopping disorder, but says there is less research in this area of addiction than that of drugs and alcohol, for example. What is clear, however, is the financial and emotional implications are very real.
I was assembling my boxes of shoes, and my wife saw this. I didn't know you had all those. I said, well, you didn't ask. She was a little bit taken aback when she saw that.
You're seeking these experiences that are bringing you pleasure, walking into a retail store, going to a mall where it's, like the drug dealer is just everywhere, right? And online shopping. You just click, 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 it's in the cart, you check out before you even have an opportunity to really think, do I really need this?
I don't know, the word addiction, I have to say I'm a collector. My collecting is over the top.
We can't talk about addiction without talking about dopamine. And all of us seek dopamine. Dopamine is about our survival, it's about motivation.
I have the ADHD. I've had it, I take medication for this, so the dopamine thing is an issue there. It's kind of like when you're on a roller coaster and you go really high and then you come down, that feeling that you get when you're coming down, it's like you just want to keep going with that feeling.
People that are reaching for substances or gambling or shopping or sex, there's a seeking. They're seeking to fill some need. What people are encouraged to do is to find their own concept of spirituality. When people get outside and they feel that connection with nature, breath work, music, dance, poetry, journaling.
I've been drawing and painting about it for a very long time. They go into my journals. My journals are confessional type books that I use for, they become ideas for paintings. Because I feel, not guilty, but I feel, I just can't believe I did that. It's so ridiculous.
And as this shopper/collector continues to come to terms with his compulsion, in addition to using his art as a form of therapy, he's found other ways to counter his retail craving.
Running and walking, exercising. Yeah, I use that as well as a substitute. It does sort of reduce the urge to go and purchase things. Just do one day at a time. You take the apps off your phone that you're using to purchase these things. So I've really curtailed quite a bit, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go. I don't want to do it.
You proud of that?
Yeah, I am.
When did everything start?
I was 13 years old, and my father and I would go to the racetrack together, and that was my first introduction to gambling. For me, it was innocent. I was spending the day with my dad. I was in Gamblers Anonymous already by the time I was 16. And then I continued to gamble for almost 20 years after.
Tell me about the consequences.
I was arrested 9 times. I had DWIs. I had overdrawn checking accounts, and I was on probation. I owed a lot of people money.
Rob Sakowitz says he's owed hundreds of thousands of dollars and tells a harrowing tale of his compulsive gambling, the lies it fostered, and financial devastation to him and his family, and how it nearly ended his life.
It's like literally, if you relate it to like a heroin addict, it's like giving them a needle to walk around with all day long. More gamblers commit suicide than drug addicts and alcoholics combined. And that's because they're in their brain, the only way out of their problem, because they owe so much money, is continuing to gamble.
Sakowitz credits his wife, Sandra, for getting him on the path that led to his recovery.
The lies were just continuous and out of control. So at that point, I had given him an ultimatum of going to inpatient treatment or I would have to leave.
And that's what he did. For a dozen years, Sakowitz says he's been free of drinking, drugs, and gambling. In 2022, he and his wife opened their own recovery clinic called Right Choice Recovery in Dayton, New Jersey, and says they have successfully treated hundreds so far, adding only about 5% have dropped out or relapsed. What prompted you to get help? How did you know this is time?
Oh, well, I mean, life became rock bottom. I couldn't even go through the day in a normal functionality without constantly being in some sort of action. I stole from the company. I did some rough things. I was put on probation for a period of time, kind of like that hard reality check that I can never do this again.
What was happening in your life?
Things were unmanageable. Time just disappeared. I've lost a month's salary at a red stoplight.
So meaning you're gambling on your phone and you
Yes.
lose a month's salary.
I would wake up when bank transfers in the middle of the night when I know would clear. It was controlling a lot of my thoughts, a lot of my time. It was hurting. It was hurting me, and then ultimately it hurts others.
Both Nick Gillio and Scott Desch say the programs at Right Choice Recovery have been key in helping them face and overcome their issues. Alan Gabriel, who's an adolescent therapist here, says he's seen an alarming increase in young people with gambling issues. In the past, we didn't think of it as a young person's issue.
You can't look at a sports program without seeing gambling being promoted. And also, gambling is promoted on the phone like 24/7. You now have bookies who are actively promoting gambling to teenagers.
And you were giving me specific cases of how bad it can get.
One client who incurred over $100,000 worth of gambling debt before he even reached 15. Addiction is no respecter of age, any demographic, right? And even though this was a young kid, he was doing essentially a lot of the things that we see adults who struggle from compulsive gambling go through. Manipulating, lying, conning people out of money so that they can feed the habit. I have to continue gambling to try to get out the debt. For a kid, when they see that it's not possible, their mindset is, I don't want to live anymore, because there is no way out of it.
What would you say to parents who are concerned that this is something that might be affecting their child?
One of the requirements of our program is that we engage in family therapy. One of the first things that I always do is encourage parents to set aside what I call talk time every week with your child. And that is just you spending an hour or two with your child in a place away from home where you guys have a conversation and there's absolutely no judgment. It's just creating a safe space for them to be able to talk and really allow you to kind of understand the world as they see it.
Gabriel has also seen some success with teens and the new podcast therapy program. What is podcast therapy?
Because they have a mic in front of them, they don't feel like it's typical therapy. They feel like they're engaged in a show. It gives them a boost in terms of their self-esteem because now they feel like their voice is actually important and they feel like their voice is helping somebody.
What would you say to someone who's watching now and knows they have a gambling issue?
Please call us. Call me. Our phone number is 732-908-2111. You're not alone. You have to have that voice inside you. I need help. Ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength.
According to the New York Gaming Commission, nearly $58 billion in bets have been placed in the 3 years since New York legalized mobile sports wagering. They add that bankruptcies have sharply increased, as well as incidents involving domestic violence. There has also been more than a 25% increase in calls to the Gambling Hope Line. We say it over and over again in our reporting on any mental health issue. Please reach out for help. Coming up.
I detoxed in my apartment for 2 days. I remember sitting on my bathroom floor and saying, nobody in this effing world is gonna miss me if I don't wake up tomorrow. Just take me in my sleep.
I had been to jail at least 6-7 times, 30-day rehab inpatients. I would go, leave, end up back in it.
Even when they fall down, they get back up and they say, you know what, I want to get back into treatment.
If they don't see it as a problem, that is one of the hardest things to kind of progress someone to do.
Welcome back to Breaking the Stigma, Facing Addiction. Nearly 30 million people struggle with alcohol use disorder, according to the National Institutes of Health. The effects of this disease are devastating and can impact nearly all aspects of a person's life: relationships, jobs, finances, and health, just for starters. As negative repercussions add up, the outcomes are often catastrophic. There are hundreds of treatment facilities in our area. But as we've come to understand from those who have lived through the throes of alcoholism and addiction, you have to be ready to receive help.
Stephanie Camp is a speech-language specialist at John F. Kennedy High School in Newark, which serves students with cognitive and physical special needs.
I've always wanted to work with kids with disabilities because I was born with a disability myself, growing up with spina bifida.
But as she shares with us, that wasn't the hardest challenge she faced.
My self-esteem crumbled, and to cope with those emotions and to not have to feel, my drinking started to escalate. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know that there was an invisible line that I could cross. I would have the shakes by about 3 o'clock, and then I'd get home by 3:30, and my drink would be waiting for me.
They're saying, but I don't drink at work, right? But if they're still kind of having the physical withdrawal, by definition, that means you have a physical dependency on the alcohol.
I had a seizure at my desk April 12th of 2019 because I'd gone cold turkey for 3 days without realizing how dangerous it was.
The school staff supported Camp in getting help, but as she tells us, there was still a distance to go before she finally hit bottom.
My drinking takes me to the point that I'm out line dancing, having a great night with friends. I'm blackout drunk. They call my parents, and they have to come rescue their 35-year-old daughter at the bar. I don't even recognize the person who I was. My sobriety date is January 2nd, 2020. I like to say I went out with a bang on New Year's. But the truth is I ran out of money and I ran out of booze.
We definitely know there is changes in the brain when someone, let's say, had an issue with any form of dependency, right? Let's say it's alcohol use. Like they got to the point, unfortunately, they were physically dependent on the alcohol. They had to go through a detox.
I detoxed in my apartment for 2 days. I remember sitting on my bathroom floor and saying, nobody in this effing world is gonna miss me if I don't wake up tomorrow. Just take me in my sleep.
With alcohol withdrawal tremors, it can progress to more severe alcohol withdrawal states, like alcohol withdrawal hallucinosis, where you start seeing things, hearing things, feeling things that other people might not experience. It can progress to withdrawal seizures or delirium tremens, which are both medical emergencies.
They sent me out to Carrier Clinic, and I did 28 days there, and I jumped in with 2 feet. They had workshops, lessons, counselors. They had different meetings. I could say the craziest thought in my head around the people that I surrounded myself with, and they would laugh with me and not at me. They made me feel comfortable to cry. I cried for the first 9 months of my recovery about everything. I couldn't get out of my mouth, hi, I'm Steph, I'm an alcoholic, without blubbering for the next 5 minutes.
Reach out for help, whether that's your primary care doctor, whether it's family or friends, whether it's like a local psychiatrist, really anyone. You want to encourage that conversation to kind of really bolster yourself in order to address whatever has to be addressed.
Camp just celebrated 5 years of sobriety and says she feels like she's glowing inside and out. Her new passion, the sled hockey team she started at her school.
I couldn't have done this without the support of my family and my colleagues and everybody who has been on this journey with me.
No one knows for sure why someone develops an alcohol or a substance use disorder, but some research points to genetics or mental health issues such as depression, PTSD, or ADHD. The important thing to remember is there is help out there. AA, for example, has more than 2 million members worldwide and is said to be most effective when it's combined with other treatment programs. Coming up.
I had nothing left but my mother, and I was watching myself kill her day by day with my drug abuse use.
How do you feel that you're going to be counseling people and helping?
This is a topic that I actually really know about. Not only would I be helping other people, like it'll help me.
I think it's not necessarily that there are more people entering recovery, but people are more open to talking about their recovery journey.
Welcome back to Breaking the Stigma Facing Addiction. Substance use disorder is recognized as a disease, and there's a range of effective treatment. There's inpatient rehabilitation, outpatient counseling, and a multitude of programs from 12-step to cognitive and behavioral therapies, art, music, yoga, even spiritual healing. There are effective medications to block opioid cravings. And there's also peer counseling, which provides an important connection and understanding that can help the user and the counselor as well.
And tell me about Eva.
Eva is my 1-year-old. I feel like she has had the biggest impact on my entire situation.
How long have you been clean?
3 years in April.
And do you have any cravings?
Every 30 days I get a shot, and it's the Sublocade shot, so it's supposed to just block cravings for opiate or really anything.
And it works well? Can you talk about when you first started experimenting with drugs?
It was the summer that I graduated high school. Somebody brought hydrocodone pills. At the end of that week, we woke up like sick. The only way to feel better is to take more. The one time we couldn't get the opiates, this person could get the heroin, so we did that. Between 2013 to 2018, I had been to jail at least 6-7 times, rehabs, 30-day rehab inpatients. I would go, leave, end up back in it.
The game changer for Heather came in a rehab program when she was given an opiate blocker and then finding her way to Dr. Leah Habersham and the Bridge program at Mount Sinai.
The Bridge program is an integrated OBGYN and addiction program where we provide both routine women's health care, obstetrical treatment in the outpatient setting, but then also provide addiction treatment in the outpatient setting as well. It's not very common. There are only a few programs like this. Something like 5% of patients have addiction or at least substance use during pregnancy, and it likely is more than that.
Dr. Habersham says there are few providers who can effectively treat someone who has a substance use disorder and is pregnant.
Any program like this needs to have a peer involved. Heather is able to make that connection with patients who are similar to herself. They've had this same shared experience.
How do you feel that you're going to be counseling people and helping?
This is a topic that I actually really know about. This is second nature, and not only would I be helping other people, like it'll help me.
Even if they relapse, they're still coming back. That's, to me, that's a success. Even when they fall down, they get back up and they say, you know what, I want to get back into treatment.
I am a woman in recovery from substance use disorder.
Delvoris Bryant is also a peer counselor working at Carrier Clinic in New Jersey. She says she's been clean and sober for 12 years.
I'm a member of the community, so I'm able to help quite a few people that just may not know which way to turn, how to go about it. I grew up in a good home. Both parents worked. They provided for me well. You start running with the wrong people, hanging out at the wrong places. It started off with me smoking marijuana when I was very young, around 13.
Delvoris found her way into harder drugs and an even harder life.
I have always known the voice of my higher power. And this voice said, someone's gonna die and it's not gonna be you. Can you live with that? And I had nothing left but my mother. And I was watching myself kill her day by day with my drug abuse use. I knew I could not live with that.
Today, Delvoris continues to navigate her drug-free life, helping herself while she helps others. Delvora says she's troubled, however, in what she sees as a shift in what some think sobriety might mean.
Marijuana's legal, so they figure if I come take care of my alcoholism, I can still smoke. I don't believe in it. That's just how I feel. I started smoking marijuana very young. You just can't convince me it didn't lead to everything else.
There is withdrawal with every substance. For example, with marijuana, it's anxiety and insomnia. Alcohol withdrawal can actually be fatal. People can have seizures, alcohol withdrawal syndrome, cardiac issues. Then you have opiates. And while withdrawal is not necessarily fatal, it is excruciatingly painful. But it's incredibly difficult to do it alone without support.
You were willing to go to any lengths to get the drugs or alcohol. What about to save your life?
There's been a lot of awareness into realizing that any substance use issues, any dependency issues, is really not necessarily someone just not wanting to say no, but unfortunately suffering from a mental illness to some degree.
Addiction devastates families like no other illness or disease does. Why people would steal from a loved one, why people would drive under the influence with children in the car, why someone who's pregnant would continue to use substances. It's not a choice. Remember that their brain has been hijacked. They're in a significant progressed state of addiction.
It'll lead you nowhere besides jail or dead.
What would you say to someone watching who hasn't found the right help yet?
Don't give up. Keep trying. You're not alone. The crazy thing about recovery is it never really ends. Surround yourself with the people who are like-minded, who have experience, and ultimately who can give you a safe haven to come and talk about your struggles.
For addictions such as shopping or gambling or even porn, technology or gaming, there might not be overt indications that someone has a problem. But when it's drugs or alcohol, it's usually more apparent. Overall, general warning signs are isolation, lying, stealing, a change in appearance, unexplained absences, issues at school or work, just to name a few. If there's a family history of substance use disorder or mental health issues, that could also be a possible flag. Know what to look for in your family or loved one. And if it's you, as you've heard over and over again, ask for help. It's there for you. We have links for more information on our website at cbsnewyork.com. And if you or anyone you know is in distress, call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You'll find free guidance and counseling 24/7. I'm Cindy Hsu. Thank you for watching Breaking the Stigma, Facing Addiction.